Hi, I'm not nearly frequent enough Let's Play contributor for Duel, and I had a really bad idea to do a Let's Play. Also, I dragged this guy, who's like, I have come to associate with weird JRPGs for some reason. Say hi.
My friend, I believe you will find that around here, we have only bad ideas and worse ideas, so this looks like it is very much on my brand.
Yeah, this is such a train wreck. Although I guess I should start by saying it's a retro game with very modern sensibilities, which is why it's very difficult, but it could not be, so that's nice. This isn't going to come up for a long time, so Anyway, this game does a serious cold open and just dumps us into some stuff that, I swear is absolutely not relevant to anything and definitely isn't foreshadowing of anything in particular. So I guess I should just open with, have you ever played a game that's just back-to-back, wall-to-wall stuff that you love and yet somehow just kind of a bit much?
I mean, I can't think of any immediately off the top of my head, but this game definitely, it does a lot of that. That is for sure.
Yeah. This game is a lot. Anyway, this whole deal kind of feels like it's trying to be a tutorial, but I can assure you it is not a tutorial. Like, it's going to be hours and hours and many chapters before we can do anything other than the basic attacks that we just saw, so don't worry too much about this. But, anyway, let's clear something else up, long-time Let's Play partner in crime Artix. How much of this game are you actually familiar with?
I am, from what I understand, not especially far in. I have played about 10, maybe 15 hours. Probably a little less than that, actually. For the uninitiated, in addition to this action RPG-ish combat, this game also has a lot of Zelda and some Xenoblade, and
yeah.
It's kind of a mess. But short version is
when I said this game is a lot, I mean that figuratively and literally.
But yeah, as far as my experience goes, I am, at least at this very moment, my save file is like right before the start of the second dungeon, or the second proper dungeon, we'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, eventually we're gonna settle into something that resembles the reverse of our usual gimmick, in which I'm being dragged blind through something and having to talk about it. So that's gonna be interesting. Anyway, here's some plot. Anyway, sprites, it turns out, can emote. This may or may not be a thing.
Yeah, this game's sprite work is absolutely fucking gorgeous.
Retro-style game. Absolute modern sensibilities. Like, these guys... This is like SNES games, but the way that you remember them. It's kind of incredible, honestly. Anyway, this is us.
Yeah, another point that we should briefly address is that if it's not already kind of obvious, this is a very meta game? Like,
oh yeah,
like a ludicrously meta game.
We will be addressing the extent to which this game is in conversation with itself. Also, we will be addressing balls. There are going to be some balls in this game, just got to get that out there.
There are going to be a distressing number of balls in this game.
This game is like some kind of ball artist. And yeah, it's very, very important that you all understand that we're not shooting things. We are throwing these balls, I mean virtual ricochet projectiles. Oh, you might think it's a little bit... I'm gonna go with presumptuous for a game to open with this like slightly lengthy scene in which we are literally frozen in place and just made to shoot things, but you would not believe how appropriate it is that literally the first thing this game does is make absolutely sure we can throw things. Let us practice right away. Anyway, how do you feel about ricochet puzzles?
I am familiar with their design.
Good. Good. That's gonna help. You can see, by the way, we're getting absolutely no assistance on this. Like, they recommend that you play this game with a controller, and that means you've got, aiming works about how you'd imagine. You can play with a keyboard and mouse, and it's kind of weird, but aiming is much more precise with a mouse, but they don't. I think they expect you to play with a controller. And these things bounce, and there's only so much correction that they can do.
I mean, half the time you don't want them to correct anyway. I can think of multiple times I've been exploring and absolutely just did, like, some janky trick shot that should not have worked, but definitely did.
Oh yeah. We'll eventually see some of that. Anyway, our name is Leah, and we are a silent protagonist, although not entirely by design. Oh right, yeah, this is neat. You can pull up a full dialogue log of pretty much any dialogue that happens. It will always be here. It tracks everything. It's a neat little reference. Also, characters in this game have a lot of dialogue. There's like a lot of stuff that you can do, and people, like, the developers have thought of so many things. They didn't quite think of everything, but they thought of a lot. Also, I think it's really important to impress how much stuff you can jump on in this game.
Like, I'm not joking when I say that this game has a lot of Xenoblade in it, because I assure you, if there is anything that I personally associate with this game, it is interminable amounts of janky platforming that the game absolutely expects you to do to get goodies.
Oh yeah. We'll get to what this game reminds me of in due time, but first, here's the actual tutorial, and we can ask for help, but we're not gonna. While we sit through this, I am going to state from the outset, just so you can refer back to this comment later, that something I really like about the opening of this game is that it never once directly addresses any of the questions that it's raising, even though it is raising a lot of questions. Possibly you will have figured some out just from watching this. But yeah, the game wants us to be extremely certain about our ability to bounce shots off of walls. You need to know, do you understand it yet? Do you understand that this is a game about throwing balls over long distances and making little ricochet trick shots and hitting switches? And if you have a problem with that, got some bad news for you.
It's also very important that you will probably have noticed pretty quickly that depth is... it's got some issues.
So yeah, this game has a extremely retro top-down 2D art style. I mean, we call it a Zelda-like, and that's utterly appropriate. And by the way, no, you can't. You can only bounce off fully charged shots off of the walls. So that's the puzzle here. But yeah, we've got our isometric top-down. I don't know if it's really call this isometric. You know, SNES Zelda-like art style. But just in this room alone, there's like 5 separate elevations that we can be on.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely 100% a 3D game in terms of using the Z-axis. And this this will absolutely fuck you over and over and over.
Yeah. Like, how you come away from this game feeling is gonna hinge like 500% on whether or not you can deal with this game's platforming. Like, there is a lot in this game that's great, and it is great. This is a great game. This is one of my favourite games of all time, but oh my god, does it come with a warning. You need to be able to deal with this stuff. Anyway, even here in this breezy little tutorial room, there's some lessons going on that aren't really the ones that the game is being overt about telling you, which, just so we're clear, is good. We are kind of totally by accident learning about how different kinds of shots can have different implications in combat. Particularly that our fast, weak shots actually have quite good DPS, and the slow charge shots they do less damage, but they've got utility. They're by no means useless. And chaining the one into the other, that's how you make the big numbers come out of stuff. By the way, have you figured out that orange shields don't block bullets? This is... I cannot overstate how important that is. Most players of this game will forget this fact over the course of a playthrough like 5 times. We should probably have a counter for like when I forget this in this LP, except now that I said that, I'm going to be like super conscious about it, so it's probably not actually going to be a thing. Anyway, in something that resembles one of those times when the game reflects its development, Carla has had a hell of a time putting this thing together. She's just like, she went really all out, and she's real proud of her work. Anyway, this is the first room in the game in which you can die. Is it actually possible to die in the prologue with Shizuka? I don't actually know. I mean, I feel like it must be, but on the other hand, would it ever happen?
I can't imagine it would, but it must be.
Right? Anyway, we will eventually get to see what the dying in this game looks like. That'll be next video. But, spoilers, it's not really very much of a thing. And yeah, there we go, raising questions again. Alright, this is it. This is the big one. Leah really likes violence.
I mean, who doesn't? Who among us cannot say the same?
Look, there is nothing that I like more than hitting a button and then doing 3 small, relatively useful slashes, followed by a larger one that leaves me vulnerable to damage and that I can cancel out of if I know a lot about tech. By the way, that spin attack hits twice, which is why we can use it to hit those switches that you've got to hit a lot of times. Anyway, combat in this game somehow manages to be both, like, really techy and really button mashy at the same time, and I'm not really sure how they did that, but I love it. It's like, you're gonna hear people say a lot about this game, that it mashes up the Zelda stuff with the JRPG stuff, and I mean it. By the way, there are passive dialogue events that play out and you can wind up cutting them off, but if you cut them off, they will still be fully recounted in the dialogue log. So that's really neat, that's a good feature.
Yeah,
that's modern video game sensibilities.
That's really good, because the last notable game that I played was Cold Steel 4, and that game had a tendency to do the same thing, but did not put them in your dialogue box, or at least that I remember, so... So I appreciate that.
Anyway, are these folks ever gonna actually tell us what the plot is? Because, we're raising some questions again here, and I think Leah wants to know what the fuck. And yeah, just so we're clear, the captain is good. The captain is very good.
The sprite work in this game is, once again, very, very good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe you might have thought that because we have a silent protagonist that we're not going to be emoting, but Leah is like the most expressive fucking character in this game, and I love it. Anyway, this guy just falls around an actual jetpack, just in case anybody skipped over that little detail.
There are a lot of words that are currently being put in Leah's mouth.
Oh yeah. Although, like, correctly, I find. And quite necessarily, I mean, you know. Anyway, yes, our first explorable environment is a gigantic cargo ship, just full of shipping containers. I can't quite figure out if this is a joke or not, but it is what it is. Well, this had better be good. I'm also not really sure what the deal is with the ship insignia. It's like, actually, that's a lie. I know exactly what the deal is, I just kind of want to know how many people needed to be talked into making the logo just a giant fist. But yeah, Harla is super into this, whatever the hell this is. And these guys are apparently seriously into us, for whatever the hell reason that is. Anyway, this is a JRPG, we can walk around and we can explore, we can poke at things, we can walk through things in the environment that look like they're not able to be walked through, but that's just how the perspective works.
Yeah,
I mean, this isn't a secret passage, this is just behind the big block of boxes.
Yeah, like,
it's like...
To pull one of the favorite arguments out, I know obviously it makes sense to the player, or to the character, they could see there's a path there, but yeah. Also, we can talk to people, except, you know, we can't talk to people. And you might think that this game is going to do, like, the Chrono Trigger thing of, like, oh, your protagonist is silent, but everybody is going to act as though, like, they've just told them sentences.
No, that is the coward's way. Anyway, this is a different thing. Just like people can talk to us passively, NPCs can also talk amongst themselves passively, complete with like a dedicated button for skipping dialogue in passive conversations. And that's demonstrated here. And sometimes we can interject in these conversations. For whatever good that does, which is variable. Again, just a flyby tutorial. Good times. Anyway.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't do video games. What's an MMO?
Yeah, we're gonna go there. This is definitely a setup.
It is a setup, and I love it, and this is an extremely important detail, right? I don't even, like Carlo, I don't even know where to begin with this, but like, CrossWorlds is a video game that takes place in a real place, but with virtual players. It's like the world's most convoluted form of telepresence.
Like, okay, so like...
It's like piloting a robot around Disney World, basically.
So like, you know how like in Avatar, like they do the weird thing where they connect into the machine and then suddenly he's the big blue dude, but like he can still feel and interact with the world. That's what this is.
Yeah. All of which to say, welcome to our Let's Play of CrossWorlds, set entirely inside a Let's Play of CrossCode. You were warned that this was going to get meta. We'll be seeing exactly how that is going to play out, but suffice it to say that CrossWorlds is a game within a game, and the game within a game has its own plot and setting and cast. And the game that we're playing is entirely about this other game, which we are also playing, and all the NPCs in this game are basically either like actual NPCs in CrossWorlds or other players of CrossWorlds. And what that means is that this game is going to be, art critics call it being in conversation with yourself. And it's a dangerous line for a game to toe, but this game does it. It makes it work. I absolutely love the conceit of this setting.
I personally think it's a bit much, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I refer you to literally the first comment of literally the first minute of this, literally the first episode of this Let's Play. It is, if nothing else, a bit much. Anyway, we're not entirely silent now. We have an entire single word that we can say. By the way, we can skip individual scenes. It comes up sometimes. There's a lot of dialogue in this game, but not... like, a lot of characters, you think that they'd have something new, but they actually don't, so the skip button comes in handy. Note the blink and you'll miss it mention of instant enter, which is... well, that's also important. There's a lot of important stuff that we are only really peripherally learning about at this point. Also, I love that this guy just has absolutely nothing new, even though we can actually come up and say hi to him. This is... again, this is what we mean by the game being meta. It does all this stuff. Sometimes it just does things for the sake of subverting your expectations, and sometimes that's just fun, and sometimes that's actually plot. Who knows? Video games. Oh boy. Anyway, this is going to be our last real task of the video, because the game is still trying to real slyly teach us things. So now we're going to learn about breaking things. Like, this is never going to ever be explained to us again. Although it's going to be important in a couple of areas, that there are these boxes and you can only break them from one side. In fact, now that I think about it, this is never actually explained to us even now. It just, like, tells you to break all these boxes and you just have to figure it out for yourself. It's not that difficult, actually, but, you know? Anyway, 9 times out of 10 in this room, I'm going to try and break these things with, like, stupid bounce shots that absolutely are not necessary.
I was gonna say, should I be taking most of this room as a sign of your shot accuracy for things to come?
Look, I need to give you 2 warnings, okay? First, I am extremely inclined to try and make shots that I absolutely cannot make, and second, I have, like, terminal CrossCode brain.
I mean, that's fair.
This game has completely broken my ability to, like, pass what seems to be a good path through any given environment.
That is fair. This game has a tendency to be like, which we'll see pretty quickly, that this game is not shy at all about being like, hey, you see this stupid trick shot? Yeah, that's actually what we want you to do.
This game...
No, there is no way around it. Make the fucking shot.
This game. It's so much. Anyway, next time we'll finish looking around the ship, and maybe we'll see some references.